go. What up, everybody?
How you doing?
Yo. What up, everybody? How we doing today? Doing
Phenomenal.
all right? Yeah. Well, we got Mike Frazier on here, and Mike and I were exchanging some messages back and forth when the Hawaii thing went down, and he's got some unique perspectives based on his past and current status of what he does. But before we get to that, I want to ask, what do we think about Trump getting arrested? We got to address some of this stuff.
We have to address the elephant in the room.
How many times is it? How many are we at right now?
Four. This is four.
And how many in what time frame has four been?
Shit, 6 months?
Yeah. Probably less than 6 months, actually.
And Georgia, they're asking for the trial to be done in October.
Of course.
Isn't it funny though? Like, this is the thing that I've always found funny when it comes to like this with Trump is now all of a sudden our justice system believes in our Constitution of the right to a speedy trial.
It'll be the first fast and speedy trial that America has had in like 100 years.
I mean, here in Michigan, they had an Oxford school shooting, and they literally just held the trial a year and a half later. It took a year and a half to get to trial, which is kind of typical for major cases. I mean, yeah, your petty stuff and all that might be, pretty quick, but your major stuff usually, and this is supposed to be major. I mean,
well, I was just going to say, like, even child support cases here in Michigan can go on, let's see, I'm at 2.5 years. Yeah. So it's crazy to me that he gets arrested and it's like, we're going to start this in October. And I'm like, oh, okay. Someone gets a speedy trial.
Right.
It's terrible.
And then I think the Fed case is supposed to be in January. So right after that, and then the Florida case, I think is going to be in like May or March. And then they want the New York case in like August, I think.
Wowzers.
Yeah.
They're hitting ludicrous speed.
Right. I mean, I ain't never seen nothing like this before.
No.
Did you guys catch the Trump interview last night with Tucker?
I did.
I caught snippets of it. I gotta go back through. I and I gotta watch it because Tucker, he's super red. He always does some really good. He throws out some hard questions, man. He throws out some serious, legit, and they're neutral. They're not always geared towards one side or the other side. And I've always appreciated that about him. And watching him kind of get thrown under the bus and just trashed, I was kind of disgusted by that. But I mean, that's kind of where everything's going right now.
His people followed him, though. I mean, that interview, what is it at now? Like at almost 200 million views?
Oh, yeah. It's well over 200.
Is it over 200 million now?
It's last I checked, it was like 250 million.
Jeez.
I mean, it hit the ratings that Fox supposedly got yesterday. They hit that in 30 minutes on Tucker's video.
Mm-hmm. You know what's funny too? Talking about that and with his interview, all of the people that hate Trump, every single one of them are watching that.
Oh yeah.
They're all watching.
243 million plays.
They're seething. They're all like all their geriatric juice and all the stuff that they got going on. Man, they're just bubbling at the head, and their Jerry curl stuff is just coming out, and their curlers popping out. It's terrible. Like man, why do people got to be like that?
Right. I thought it was a great interview personally.
I did too.
I thought the questions were pretty hardball questions and tough questions.
The last question is what got me, because it was the one that they had previewed, and I wanted to know the answer to that so bad because I thought it was like he had to answer it very delicately because that's a really delicate question. But Tucker had bluntly asked him, "Do you think we're at the brink of civil war?" And like that's a nuts question to ask, but his answer was. It was good. I mean, it was a good answer. And for him being underneath like the restrictions that he's under with being indicted in all of the court cases, I think it went really well. And I was someone who wasn't going to vote for him this year. just because I was over like the divisiveness, I was over the drama of politics and the joke that was being made out of it. And I didn't think that it was necessarily him, but like his people a lot of the time. But after Kennedy screwed up, I'm back over with Trump again. But it went well. It reminded me of like old Trump before he got annoying.
I think he's back.
Yeah.
I think he's always been annoying, and that's just the thing that.
Yeah.
I mean, you have things. You got certain quirks with certain people, and you just got to deal with it. And a lot of people didn't want that, so
I think he got really bitter.
Down on his bicycle and he's sniffing babies. That's I mean, you got to weigh it out.
Man, at this point, I'd rather have a criminal as a president than somebody that sniffs kids. That's for sure.
I mean, I would rather have mean tweets. I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what that is. I mean, I do.
I miss them.
Our gas up by me is up near right at $4 right now.
Yeah, it is up here too.
It's getting. I'm in Virginia, so it's creeping back up.
It's crazy.
Even when I took my kids school shopping this year, I was like, "Wait, what? How much? What?"
Yeah,
I didn't get anywhere near what I got.
It was dropping down. It was dropping down pretty good. I'm like, oh man, I feel this is kind of not too bad, you know. And then boom, crises are happening, and sure, why not just stick it to more people? These guys are getting screwed over here. Let's just screw everybody else. It's the American way.
It's the American way.
It's insane. Yeah, $3.79 in Delaware. That's crazy.
Yeah,
it's insane. But with the Maui fires, obviously we've seen some things that aren't. I'm going to pull it up while we talk, but that are clearly not 100% up to par, I should say.
No,
I mean.
Definitely not.
And then, like, Mike, can you tell us just like a little bit of your background?
So my background has nothing to do with catastrophic damage, lasers, anything like that. I have been inundated.
He said it.
I have been inundated with weapon systems. I've been inundated with different agencies. I've seen a lot of things. I've been all over the world. I've seen chaos, destruction, death. I've been the bringer of it, and I've never seen anything like what I've been seeing, I'd say, within the last year or so. The weather stuff has been kind of weird, so I've always hated the label of a conspiracy theorist and the guys that just believe all this weird stuff, and I always kind of made fun of them. But as of recently, everything has kind of been making me question everything. I don't really know what to believe, and I don't really know who to trust or what's going on. But things that I've seen, things that I've experienced in my life with weapons, with laser technology, there is significant amount of questions to be raised for not only this instance, but other instances and situations all over the world.
Yeah, and I think that's where I think some people are getting to the point where they're almost, it seems like, scared to even just ask questions because they don't want to be labeled the conspiracy theorist. And whenever I get called a conspiracy theorist on social media from obviously the left, I just ask what's wrong with asking questions. Like, why do we trust the government so much? Like, I mean, obviously, something like the Hawaii film that we're watching, I mean, it seems pretty selective to me. Like, there's a couple houses on the bottom left that next door to it, you're going to tell me that a house burned down so much that the house next door didn't get caught on fire?
Yeah.
It's the blue houses for me, though.
And the blue houses, of course. Have you seen that, Mike, that conspiracy going around about the blue roofs?
Let's just call it a theory, though. Like, I don't think it's conspiracy. I think at this point, it's just a healthy theory to have. Like, when you have, you have a barricade of cars and you have residents that were saying,
how did that tank not blow up?
Exactly. Like, how did the gas tank not blow up? And then if you look at the umbrellas, that really struck with me because I'm like, if it was this hot, those umbrellas would be gone. It's an umbrella. I mean, it's made out of plastic.
So
these cars were
I want to pause really quick. So we got all this stuff going on right now. We got this weird, crazy fire, and we have this phenomenon with this huge, just outrageous fire, right? And then the crazy torrential winds and the storm that was rolling through, right? So previously in California, in Southern California specifically, within the past couple years, especially this last winter time, the end of winter, what recently happened? Do you guys remember that? There's a huge snowstorm that came and just wiped out the excuse me, wiped out that section in California where there was over 10 feet of snow, and that place never really.
Gosh, I
You
do
remember?
remember
Didn't even
that
know
now.
about that.
Oh man, tons of snow, and they've had tons of rain, a lot more rain. Lake Powell has been filling up. It was a couple years ago. It's been like really dry, so there has been a lot more increase of a different type of weather. And traveling back and forth to work, I've noticed different types of weather, and things have seemed really bizarre and not normal in that. And I don't
look
have
at this hotel.
Yeah.
Everything around it is literally burned down to the ground.
I mean, next door, across the street, and then right next door again.
But that thing is perfect. Like even like you can see where there was
there's
buildings
not even
next
like
to it.
charring. You know what I mean? Like from the black smoke, there's not even charring going on over there.
Yep. So it's kind of bizarre, and it's hard to not ask questions at this point. And it's hard to say, you know, what's really going on. Why did just one electrical cable supposedly cause all of this? And then all of a sudden with that electrical cable, with all this wind, how did all of that just completely wipe everything out in such a fast amount of time? Like, what's going on with that? So, you know,
now are you in California? Is that where you are or no?
I'm not. I worked off and on in different states. So I worked with a company that worked on helicopters that did multiple things. They did fire, heavy lift construction, and then they did all kinds of different stuff with these helicopters. So I would, travel wherever I needed to go, where the helicopters were, to work on them and make sure the helicopters were flying.
Okay.
So I've seen all kinds of different stuff, and over the past couple of years, it's just been, especially this last year, it's been really bizarre. And talking with the locals, they're all like, yeah, weather's been really weird here. It hasn't really been like that. So you bring that on top of stuff like this, then you have more questions. So like, what's going on with that? And then I send you a link for some stuff that people were sending to me about different types of direct energy that they've been testing out in different locations and different sites. And you don't hear about any stuff like this. And then all of a sudden stuff starts popping up, and you start getting information, and you start getting things. Could it be true? Could it be made up? Could it be all AI, whatever? Yeah, anything could, I guess, but
it might not.
It might not.
That's always where I'm at with it. Like, but what if it's okay? Like, I do understand the point of it, and it makes you feel safer too, right? Like when you're like, oh, it's fake. It's just computer. Is that really his mugshot?
That's his mugshot.
That's fantastic.
The memes are commencing, right?
That is fantastic.
They're already saying, man, that the fake ones were much better than this.
They really were. Like, I'm a little disappointed, but I'll still take it on a t-shirt. I'll still take it.
That was it. There it is.
He looks mad as shit.
He's pissed. He's finished, man. He's done with all this, bro.
I would have smiled. I wish he would have smiled and been like,
he's done.
But I like it. I dig it. Well, with the the conspiracy theory stuff though, or the theory stuff, it's unsettling to me because of this direct energy or whatever they're saying it might be with these like laser bursts or whatever. I've seen like the science behind this, and it is there, and you can make them. Or like, see, there's another little blue house, and it's that color that didn't get touched. And I saw like an experiment where they took this and everything lit on fire, and then they got to the blue and nothing happened. And then it went right back on fire at the bottom of the blue.
Yeah.
So do you know anything about this laser system? Because some people have shown like on social media, and of course sometimes it's hard to believe like everything that's displayed out there, where they were showing this laser like catching stuff on fire and whatnot, and they did it to different colors, and the blue was like it didn't even phase it.
I haven't seen that.
Okay.
And I can only be so vague with the weapon systems that I have seen. And they're lasers. The military uses them. They have been using them and testing them for decades now. And they've just been getting bigger and stronger, and the distances and the the strength has just been growing and increasing. And it's just going to be a matter of time before they can actually get something that's, if they don't even already have it, or be able to have something up in like a satellite or up in space to shoot some stuff straight down, or have an aircraft flying over, or a hot air balloon. Who knows what's going on. So there's no telling what the capabilities are right now. Normally when they start designing and testing, doing research and development for things, people don't really even know about stuff until 15, 20 years down the road before it really comes out. Like cell phones were a big thing. Digital cameras also are a big thing. They were using that in Operation Eagle Claw, like way back in the early 80s. They were using digital cameras to uplink stuff. You didn't really hear about any type of digital cameras until it was like late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, like they were using them before the public even realized that we had them.
Yeah. So it's going to be the same thing right now, especially with any type of weapon system, or if whatever they would want to use it for in like a incinerating, what do they call it for? Clearing out fires when they're removing brush and stuff like that. They're doing a controlled burn.
Sure.
It
almost looks like a controlled burn, in all honesty.
Yeah. And speaking of controlled burns, kind of like we were talking a little bit offline recently. We had the whole debt ceiling extravaganza that we normally have, right?
Yeah.
And if you kind of think back to earlier this year and where everything was going, there was no fires, no anything in the United States at all. Everyone was freaking out at these big, massive fires in Canada, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've been to the conclusion of like, man, it doesn't really seem like it doesn't really seem right. Like, why is there no fires here in the States? Well, the debt ceiling got resolved. Federal agencies got their monies, and then what happened? Shortly after that, we started fighting fires here in the United States. So I'm not saying that our firefighters are going out there and causing all this. I don't believe that. No. I don't want to put that out there at all, 'cause I don't believe that. But I do think that there's something tied in with all of this in industry. I mean, if you think about it, firefighters. Firefighting in government contracting and the civilian contracting world, it's a business. It's money. And if a state has enough of an emergency or a crisis, they get emergency funding. So what happens with a state that gets emergency funding? They get more money, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like going to Iraq. It's just like going to war. We're not really doing anything else but just sending money to Ukraine right now. So what we can do here in the United States is just destroying what we have and just kind of making it look bigger and better. That's kind of my theory on it. That's my take. And it makes me question, why is all this?
See, we were questioning here in Michigan because the fires in Canada were in Ottawa. Well, that's northeast of us, right? So that's really directly north of almost New York City.
Yeah.
The wind stream goes from west to east.
Mm-hmm.
How'd the smoke get down to Michigan? Going against the wind.
Yeah.
It was weird.
That's something that I've always wanted to know with it getting to Michigan the way that it did.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me, and
like
how horrible our air quality was.
from British Columbia, I fully expected us to get some because that makes sense because that's to our west. So that if that jet stream was coming down southeast like it should, then that would pass us, and I would totally see that. But like to go against the wind like that, it was
to be fair though, in that regard, these fires, they get so big, and a lot of these places are already up like in some kind of elevation, right? So you have this big massive fire, and the smoke plume goes up. It's not in the normal type of airstream, and that smoke and all that stuff goes way up. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I'm no mathematician or meteorologist or chef by any means, but it's I mean, it is possible. I mean, think back. Let's rewind back in the day when the volcano in up in Washington went, St. Helens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So when that went, man, there was smoke all the way down. You can see news clips that like there was smoke all the way down to like California and stuff like that. There was ash all over the place. So I mean, it was a violent eruption, and stuff was like shooting way up in the air as opposed to just a fire. But I'm pretty sure hotter rises, so it's going to go up pretty far.
Sure.
Now we do have a question just on like your background in general. A couple people have been asking.
Yeah.
You want to comment on that? I think it's new people that are coming in too. And just like what you're, I'm getting a lot of like, I'm seeing special forces stuff and what's his background. And so you're going to have to answer.
Okay. Well, I don't see what you see. So, read off.
Okay. We have, I didn't know if you could see them or not. So we just have like simple, what is your background? And then another one of our vet friends came in and said, I got to catch up. This dude is clearly special forces from what's hanging on his wall. I have to stop coming in late.
Okay. So, I spent some time in the Coast Guard back in 2000. I joined the Coast Guard. I went, it was basically federal law enforcement. So I was on a law enforcement detachment team. So in 2000 to 2004, I was with the Coast Guard. 2003 happened, and I was in Iraq with the Coast Guard. So we were conducting MEO operations, sanctions in the waterways. I even got an award for doing, we cleared a landmine. So we were one of the first puddle pirates to conduct shore patrol in combat. It was kind of weird. Kind of dumb now thinking about it, but it was exciting, and it was a cool award. So after we got done with that, after I got done with the Coast Guard, I still wanted to be a Rambo, so I joined the military. I became a Black Hawk mechanic and a crew chief. I did a big 18th month deployment with the military, big deployment. Came back, assessed for 160th, and then I got to hang out with all the black helicopters back there, and my customer base was a lot different. So traveled all around the world, being a crew chief and a Black Hawk for the 160th for different customers everywhere. So that's kind of where all my background with the military goes. Excuse me. And then when I got out, I did contracting for aircraft mechanic work all over the place. Lived in Sweden for a while.
Oh, wow.
Helicopters there.
They truly neutral?
Yeah, they are actually. It was a beautiful place, man. I loved it. Came back. I've been, from the West Coast to over here to the East Coast. I live in Virginia now. So working on all kinds of different helicopters. I worked on in a military institution where they do research and development. Building some of their helicopters and equipment over there for them. Then getting back into the firefighting and heavy equipment kind of type stuff there.
So, like, in short, you're a badass. Like that, you're just a professional badass.
Dude, I've seen a lot. I'm old. I got a lot of gray hair, and
you have one of your Navy friends that's saying, "What's up, little sister? Navy guy here."
Hey, what's up, Squid?
And of course, the comment sections are flooded with "Thank you for your service."
Hey, man, it was an honor and a pleasure to work with the most elite operators on this planet. So, the honor was definitely all mine. So I cherish it. And I hold it near and dear to my heart, and it was great, and it's helped me, and it's also helped me, be able to question things and see things. You know, I used to be so bullheaded, and I used to just be so, I'm an alpha. So, you know, I'm just like one way, just I had this whole mentality, and like, you couldn't tell me otherwise. I've just seen so much. I mean, we all have been through so much in life in these past 10, maybe 10 years. And then these past 5 years has just been nuts. So like you have to question everything. And then when people say that you can't question things, you got to get out. You got to go. You got to take your
mask off. I try to lump you in with, because I think there's such a huge difference between people who ask a lot of questions, people who might be like a little conspiracy theory junkies. I'm a huge, I love all of them, from Bigfoot to aliens all the way through.
Yeah.
But I think there's also like this not so savory side of conspiracy theory that media has really attached onto.
Yeah.
And they find the craziest of the crazy people. And then anytime that you ask a question, it's like, boom. But that's actually how we got the term conspiracy theorist. It was from the 3-letter agencies, actually, coined the term. And it was meant to do exactly what it's doing now, is they just label everybody that. I don't know how people can't ask questions anymore.
They get caught up in the consequences of these big agencies. So, I mean, how much more are they going to silence me, or like, you know, ban my Instagram and social media accounts and shadow ban me? I'm like, I don't care. I got tacos to eat. I got a life to live, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
There's more to life than to worry about what everybody else is thinking. I'm going to stay, keep my boots on the ground, and keep, you know, my mind focused on where I'm at and what I'm doing, and, you know, try to, maintain here on the home front, because I'm not out there in the soup anymore. I'm not in the sauce, you know? And, if you can get the right type of people and talk with them like-minded individuals, you can come together and you can ask questions, you know, create an environment like what we're doing, you know, like-minded individuals, and we can have a conversation about, man, this doesn't really seem right, or, you know, this isn't really the best. And does it mean that you're on one side or the other? No, you guys can be full on left or full on right, or believe in this. It doesn't matter, man. You still gotta ask questions. That's the whole reason why I went over there and did all that fighting for.
Right.
I was actually going to ask you that. Like, I wonder sometimes, because, you know, I can never imagine what you guys go over there and do and see and are put through, and to come home and to be home and see what's happening right now. Like, what does that do to you as someone that goes over there to do this for all of our freedoms, for everyone to do all of this?
It's
and
it's
then
difficult. I mean, there are times it's difficult, and I've had to do a lot of healing in my past and in my journey, just for some different things, PTSD, you know, anxiety, stress, all of that stuff. But it encompasses so much more. But as I've gone through and I've healed on myself, I have to let go of. I've had to learn how to let go of the anger. I had to recognize having anger. It does me no good just being so mad, because I can't control it. And a type of personalities, we like to control our environments. We're trained to have a certain type of control, and we have to have a contingency for contingency for contingency. So you always have to be thinking of the future, because people will die. Rangers will die. You know, the customers in the back, they'll die. You need to get them home. We're there to take them to the X, and we're there to pick them up and bring them back, regardless of what happens. So you have to be in control. Well, when you come out of that environment and you have stuff like this that you can't control, it blows you away, because you don't know what to do with it. And there's so much of it, and you're just consumed from every space, and there's no training on that. So just me kind of going through all of my stuff, I just kind of had to learn how to let go of some of that stuff. It still hurts, you know, it still sucks, but I got to focus on what I can control, and be a part of, you know, communications, talk to people, get involved with the community. You know, if you're running a business, you know, take care of, you know, your customers, take care of your people if you're training. I finally did see someone talking about jujitsu, I'm still new to jiu-jitsu. I'm still learning. I'm just a blue belt, so I got years and years and years to go. But you gotta get out there and you gotta do different things, and you have to try stuff out and get with those communities and work with them. That's like your bubble. And then that bubble kind of grows into another bubble, and then that bubble grows into another bubble, and then pretty soon, it starts growing. And then you have this community of people in completely different states on a podcast talking about similar stuff.
Yeah, and I think community is like the most important thing for everybody right now.
Oh, it is
to find people. And that also makes me ask questions about the COVID stuff,
Right.
like is a lot. I believe that COVID is a thing. I had it. And I'm a high risk person. So I was one of the people that you were forced to wear a mask for without my permission. Like they used people like me. And I'm like, I don't even care if y'all do it, but okay. And it was horrible. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I got horrifically ill. It's the sickest I've ever been. But I can't help but wonder if a lot of this like social distancing and stay home and you can't have people in your home is to avoid people building those communities when our entire country is in turmoil.
Exactly. And then you take a look at Sweden. They didn't do any lockdowns. They didn't make people wear masks. They said, hey, if you want to stay at home, stay at home. If you want to wear a mask, wear your mask. If you want to do this, do whatever you got to do. They maintained their normal up tempo. What happened to them? All of the different smaller little tribal like people in the United States. I'm brain farting. My TBIs and everything are kind of
you are fine.
Different types of people in different communities. Their own religions or whatever. They didn't do anything. No masks, no vaccines, no anything. They're all fine. They're all still just hanging out. Like, what's up with that? So why can't we question that? Why does that make me a bad person when I say, yeah, it doesn't really make any sense?
Yeah. Tux, did you release a not correct mugshot?
No, that's what came through saying that it was. So I guess
maybe it wasn't. Ashley Smith is saying, hey, Tux, that wasn't Trump's mugshot.
Yeah.
Been released yet.
And that actually came from his platform.
Oh, well, then it's got to be.
Because that's it came through as like a notification from Truth Social. So I clicked on it, and that's it's weird.
I think it's got to be.
Yeah. So, Mike, what kind of stuff do you do with firefighters or the fire departments and whatnot?
Me, I don't deal directly with any firefighters at all. So what my job is as a mechanic, or what a mechanic's job is, we're on a fire base, so we're well away from the fire because we're with all of the equipment. So all of that equipment, all the aircraft, all the fuel, and everything like that. Everyone calling the shots. At the fire base and everything, they're back in a different location. So we're back there with that. So our job as a mechanic is to make sure that the helicopters are up and running, they're fueled, and they're ready to go, because at a moment's notice, the pilots will get a call and say, hey, we need you to launch. You need to go to this location right here. You're going to be contacting, this person on the ground is going to be your communication. So you go, and then the helicopters go up, they'll take the bucket, and they'll go and start getting water and dipping, or agent, whatever they're doing. And that's pretty much it. So it's just nonstop.
Do you get to see the aftermath?
It depends. I normally don't. Sometimes we'll get pictures and stuff like that from the pilots that are up there, because these aircraft are restricted aircraft. So when they're up working, doing stuff like that, only the pilots, the pilot and the co-pilot are flying. But depending on where it is, there's usually smoke everywhere. If you have to drive into town or something like that with a hotel, you'll usually catch the chatter from the locals, and that they're mostly super cool with everyone helping out. But most of the time, we don't catch a whole lot of that, because you can't have a fire base that close.
What's smoke jumpers? Have you worked with smoke jumpers?
I have worked with smoke jumpers that were military before they were smoke jumpers. I haven't actually worked with smoke jumpers.
What's a smoke jumper?
Smoke jumpers are crazy dudes that are when they're force firefighters, but they are rigged with parachutes, and they will go and jump into a remote location, and they'll parachute in, and then they'll start assessing an area, taking communications. They'll start digging trenches, cutting stuff down. They start and go do work on the ground, but they'll jump out from an aircraft, either a helicopter. They do helicopters or airplanes.
How did I not know that was a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
I've seen like the firefighters.
I don't know if Goggins is an actual fire jumper or not, but I know Goggins is doing some firefighting, so I'm pretty sure that if David Goggins was actually a part of a firefighting team, he'd be a fire jumper. Yeah, believe it or not, he was up in Canada fighting the fires with some dudes up there.
So we had talked about that too, how quickly we sent resources to Canada.
Yeah,
but it didn't seem like Hawaii got those same kind of resources. Was it because of how crazy the fire was in Hawaii, or is it because of the distance to Hawaii, or something else?
I mean, it depends. Like those fires are like on the east side of Canada, right? Like the northeast side of Canada. And then if you got firefighters coming from California, how far is that?
Right.
If you got some dudes in California ready to rock and roll, California, Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, somewhere around there, send them to Hawaii. How far is that? I mean, is that the same distance? Like what's going on with that?
What's your thought?
I've seen a video where they had a bunch of relief sent, but the location that they placed this relief that they expect locals to walk to, because how else are they going to get there? These people lost everything.
Yep.
It was almost impossible to get to where the relief was.
It was so good. They didn't, our government think they didn't need relief. They all needed $700 and they were okay. They'll be all right.
They did finally release the number of children that were still missing. They did finally do that, and it's 102.
That's terrible.
Is what I read, that they haven't found their bodies. They haven't nothing. Just
there was no mad rush for anything to go over there and help them at all.
Well, they sent the kids home from school.
Yeah.
Without contacting the parents and sending the parents home.
Yeah.
To the children, they sent these babies home
in
the middle of it. And from some of the locals that I've seen videos, I mean, it's not on media, but they're locals who are there, and I'm more inclined to believe what they're saying than what the news is telling me.
Yeah.
They're saying that like they're not getting anything.
Yeah, that's terrible.
And it's so far away. They can't get
to
it.
Gas.
Can't get gas.
And even like gas stations that survived.
To people buy their land.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have any electricity. Even if they do have gas, how are they gonna get it pumped out?
I saw one video from a local where they have like a Wi-Fi truck, and there's like one. So now they can't even communicate with anybody. Yeah. I mean, I guess for me, like seeing that devastation that we just showed, and a lot of these houses were obviously burnt completely to the ground. Like,
yeah,
I've never seen a fire like that. So apparently it had to burn pretty hot. Well, where are they staying? Where are the people at? Like, like after Katrina and even after some other fires that have happened, you see people going to clean it up after hurricanes, after fires, after, you see people go tornadoes. They're cleaning up. You see the actual relief happening.
Yeah.
But even the current footage that we see, I don't.
You always see it. It's the day after when it's, after everything's subsided and, you can send an aircraft down there. Dude, they are clearing stuff with bulldozers they're finding stuff to go and make room for aircraft to land in these places and dropping off stuff. I did see somewhere that they sent like a C-17 loaded with these little mini shelters I don't know who is doing that. I did see a little clip of that somewhere. I don't know if that's 100% legit or not, but they're sending all that. Like you had asked me earlier, they're sending all these dudes, all these resources up to Canada to fight all these fires, right? Why are they not sending all these people to over to Hawaii? But
I think they're waiting them out. I really, truly do.
But when we send all these resources to Canada, we get a return, right? We're getting paid for that. That's business.
Yeah.
There's no business in going over there right now because there's obviously some weird, shady stuff going on right now. If it was a true like an emergency, that would be a well that would just be a well of oil. That would be an oil field right there.
Yeah. Well, because we've seen it like
all over that, just like shoving money into that. Like this is resources. This is resources. State of emergency. Let's pull in some money. None of that's happening. So why is that?
One of the biggest things that bothers me is like AFTC said that like the vehicles were literally melted for how hot it is. Here's my question though. Some of them weren't. Also, the people, were still in the cars, incinerated in their car. The doors weren't open. It takes a long time for a car, not a long time, but if you see a big fire coming and your car sets on fire, there is time to try to open a door and run. That's a normal human instinct.
You're not going to sit in there and just cook yourself.
None of them did. They're all incinerated in their cars. And I'm like, this looks like a direct boom.
Yeah,
like a boom.
Well, because you don't see concrete. The concrete survived just fine.
Right.
Yeah. Underneath those cars that were just melted to the concrete. It's like, and concrete doesn't take a whole lot. I mean, it does to melt, but not nearly as much as like the metal cars and stuff.
I mean, and some of those fires from I've seen in combat and war, like concrete and like asphalt and stuff like that. There's a significant amount of damage to that area with the concrete in itself, just from one, bongo truck that's exploded or blown up or something like that. So that really doesn't add up. So there's so many different things that don't make sense that we should definitely be asking questions. And all those poor people over there lost all their stuff. And it's kind of weird how everything's getting set up for all their people to everyone wants to buy up their land and like take care of them first, before you even start trying to give them money back for their land. Like, why don't
that makes me so sick to my stomach, the land grab that's attempted, because it's
so terrible.
A lot of these locals don't even really see themselves as American citizens, right? Like there's a lot of controversy there to how we obtain.
Right now, I can't even blame them. Right now, I can't even blame them.
No, I mean, and there's controversy that goes all the way back to how we obtained Hawaii in the first place, which I didn't even know until this happened. Because my focus when I learned about it was go find people in Hawaii if you can and watch their content. Yeah. Because that's who I'm going to believe. But they don't want, they sure as hell don't want Joe Biden there. They do not want him there. They look disgusted.
So let me ask a quick question. Just kind of thinking about this. If we would have had the type of technology that we had today and the type of people running the government that we have today, when we came over here with the Indians on the land, what do you think would happen?
The same thing.
I mean,
it's true.
Think about it. Like,
very true.
Why is no one talking about that? Why are nobody answering, asking those kind of questions? So it's imperative that, you should be able to ask why for all these government agencies, and they should be able to give you a realistic, reasonable answer without any type of, negativity or just all the craziness that comes out when someone asks a government agency, hey, why is this? Why are you not doing this? People are screaming, shouting, just shutting people down. They're not answering questions. It's like, why? That's not how the government should be ran. And we're getting to a tipping point with our government, and it's not doing too hot.
No, there's zero transparency.
Oh yeah.
Well, that I'll ask you the same question that Tucker got. or that Tucker asked Trump, just because of your background. Are we headed toward a civil war?
We have been headed towards a civil war, and it's kind of bizarre. And I knew that if we were to have a civil war, it would be completely different. And everyone's thinking it's going to be
muskets and backyards.
Everyone's thinking it's going to be muskets, and there's people are going to be tossing tea over a boat, and one person's going to say something wrong, and then we're just going to declare a civil war, and it's not going to happen. And it's going to go on for a long time and getting worse and worse and worse before enough people start to realize and wake up. And then something's going to snap, and one side's going to react in a way that's not going to be favored by the other side. Whatever side it is and however it looks, that's what it's going to be. And the way technology is today, and the way that they've been trying to silence the majority of people on social media and networks. They've been doing it for the past 3, 4, 5 years, honestly. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be different. So it's going to be harder to communicate and harder to really decipher the truth and the right type of information. And that's all it's all a type of warfare that we kind of learn in certain sections of the military. You learn to recognize and see different types of techniques and tricks that we use on our enemies, and mm-hmm. we learn that our enemies will use on us. So when I started seeing them do that.
Uh-oh.
He's being censored right now.
Oh boy.
Oh, he's back. Maybe.
Joe Biden's getting them.
Yep, Joe Biden.
Oh man. He's trying to sniff my computer right now.
He is. Now, so having experience with those certain techniques, do you feel like those techniques are being done to the American people from their own country?
100%, and they have been for a lot longer than everyone realizes.
Yeah.
And that's why for me, like, it took me a while to question as much as I do now, just because of the knowledge that people like yourself, former military, that have been trained in a lot of this stuff, that have seen some of this stuff, that, I mean, knowing the knowledge that hundreds or thousands of you guys have, that you could also, if you chose to, teach others or not, whatever the case may be. But obviously you guys are kind of put on a somewhat of a gag order just because of the topics. But I always found it hard that they would try to pull some of this shit with folks like yourself walking the everyday streets now.
Yeah, they don't, they know it, and they're just trying to segregate. And there's always one side that just wants to segregate so much and micromanage each segregation, and it just makes it worse and worse and worse, and it just perpetuates, and it just turns into a fiery ball of just poop down the road, and no one wants to interact or talk or have anything to do with anybody. And so right now, the war veterans are looked at as, preppers and, all washed up guys, or they're censored because, we're teaching people about, firearms training or safety training, or how to, use their mindset, or, how to grow vegetables, how to live off the land, how to do things that, we've used in combat to sustain not only ourselves, but other countries for generations. And they're cutting it.
One of our viewers just went and changed their name to FBI cyber terrorism and said, "Keep speaking the truth, Mike, and we're going to glitch you again."
I'm getting sniffed, bro.
Our people are awesome. You guys are so funny.
Well, that's why, for me, I've always wondered when, former military that have been seeing things that, like yourself, and I've got some friends that they obviously won't speak on it either, of things that they see, the knowledge that they know. when y'all just throw your hands up and go, fuck it, I'm gonna say everything. I'm gonna tell everybody. I'm gonna train people. I'm gonna, you know, prepare the Americans. Like, I'm sure that's gonna come a point, I would imagine.
I'm sure some of them already are.
There's already a lot of guys on our side, on our team, that are using their knowledge and expertise to do that and build up people, not only civilians, but other veterans as well. So they're just trying to bring the community together and show each other that, and show the world that, hey, you know, it's not bad. Learning how to, you know, hold a weapon or fire a weapon, or not even weapons training, you know, just a mindset, like how to interact with life when you're walking out to your car from a grocery store, because there's so much crazy stuff going on in the world right now. But there are so many people that are just so they don't really want to have anything to do with that life. I know a lot of guys that are operators that, you know, that's just not their life anymore, and they're just kind of moving on with their own thing. And if something were to happen, you know, and it came to their front door, they would be there. Or if the right type of person asked for their help, you better believe that they will be there. But just because they're back there and they're quiet and it seems like they're not doing nothing, it's all just really just a silent head nod. And I'm not even one of the badasses. I was just really the guy in the Uber vehicle dropping these pipe hitters off. So I want to iterate that, like, I'm not like the awesome bad guy. I had to do a lot of cool stuff to keep up with those guys if we went down. That's why we went through so much training. But these guys, if they give you the head shake or something goes down, they look at you like that. You gotta suck it up, because you're getting ready to go through it. So you just got to go. Or, you know, if someone says, hey man, this is going down, you know, those guys are going to be there. So there's a good combination of both. And there's some guys that are just so sick of it, so withdrawn. There's a lot of guys that are really trying to get inundated into Congress and, you know, Senate and local communities and stuff like that. And it's great. And we do need that. We need a lot more of that. But those guys are they're just getting silenced and just getting kind of shoved back in the corner. So
I feel like there's a stigma as well. You know what I mean? Like, I know that a lot of you guys, when you come home, just with you guys dealing with your PTSD and the anxiety and the rest of it. But I feel like sometimes, especially media and the way that it's put out there, like PTSD is put out there like you're completely insane, that you can't make decisions for yourselves, that you can't overcome it, that you can't get better, to where, like, I was diagnosed with PTSD, and the person who helped me get better and get the help was one of my veteran friends. It was actually this one right there. But I feel like sometimes there's a stigma around you guys that, like, they kind of want people to stay away from y'all. Like, no, just leave them alone. And I'm 100%,
like, there definitely is that stigma, but you know, that kind of comes twofold, because one, we really do that to ourselves, and two, we're kind of fed into it, because after we get out, or before we get out and we start having issues, we don't know how to talk. We don't know what to do. We spend all this time, effort, and energy, and years of our lives getting to the top. You know, I started off as, you know, as the lowest of the low, and then I got to the tip of the spear, working with these amazing people. And there's a process, and there's a lot of training. There's a lot of money spent on me. There's a lot of courses. There's a lot of qualifications. And there's, you know, there's a lot that can be lost if you go and you start talking to someone and say, hey, I'm having problems sleeping, or hey, I'm having this. So you just have to numb it. So you start medicating yourself with alcohol, with drugs, with whatever it is that you want to kind of just get through, you know, the suck with. And then finally you do it so much that I don't know where that light switch is at. Then we get out. So once we get out, we have the VA, this wonderful, takes such great care of our military heroes.
I mean, I've heard that the care that you guys receive is just absolutely phenomenal.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's so good. You want socialized medicine for all.
But that's a whole nother conversation.
It's disgusting.
But what happens is we get stuck with this label. and we get told that here's your medicine, take this and just go deal with it over there. So what happens is I'm just this way. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm taking medication and then I'm just going about my business. So no one understands how to heal. No one understands that they're actually struggling with something. I definitely went through all of this. I was a big monster of all of this. I ate it all up. Like, I'm just this way. This is just the way I am. I'm just an asshole. I'm just a butthole. You just got to deal with me. If you don't like it, leave. And then, dude, after time, I got sick of my own shit, really, and I got tired of it, and I didn't want to be that way anymore. And I got to a point where I was ready to, and I was getting ready to end my own life. Then amazing things happened. And then I started to want to change. I started reading about, mindset. How do I change my mind? I found my faith. I do love Jesus, but I cuss a lot and I still like tacos.
Yes.
That helped. I was able to learn how to be vulnerable and talk about my experiences and share my things. And that started healing me. And then, the medication that they were giving me was just so crazy off the bat. Come to find out, it was not the medication that they were supposed to be putting me on. Special operations doctor prescribed this stuff to me for the first time, full on schizophrenic, bipolar type of medicine with the most, I don't even know how to describe it, with the most SSRI receptors or whatever. And like, you can feel little electric shocks.
Yeah, you'll get zaps. They tried all that crap with me. And then I listened to Butters and I started doing like mindfulness and being present in the moment. You can only control what you can see.
They don't teach any of that. So what happens is they don't, mental health is, it's extremely difficult because each person takes their own individual,
from the south side of heaven. So someone said, Mike, Jesus flipped tables. No shame in being from the south side of heaven.
That's right. Mental health is, it's not easy. It's extremely difficult. And one person can have the same issue, but it will take each individual. You have to spend individual time with that person to help get them out of their, struggles, because you have your struggle, and we could all be struggling with the same thing, but we deal with it and manage it differently. And heal from it differently. And, if we were to take the type of medication, we would react different. There's so many different things, but there's none of that. It takes too long. We're not going to do that. So here's a pill, get away. And that's where we get labeled with the PTSD and have all these personas and all these images of, just broken veterans. And if you're a veteran or you're just a guy walking around with a hat with a flag on it, like, oh, he's a crusty, grumpy dude, stay away from him. That's the reason why. And there's still a lot of guys out there that are struggling because they don't know how to talk. They don't know what to do. And we've just been told, just suck it up.
Suck it up.
Yeah.
Take your pill and shut up.
So I'm gonna ask a little hard question here. So,
oh shit,
what is your opinion? So I want to make sure it's just strictly an opinion of what happened in Hawaii.
My opinion of what happened in Hawaii. It looks like there's a combination of unnatural weather, and it looks like there's a combination of unnatural heat sources that came from unknown sources.
Love that opinion. That was the best way to word it ever.
He was very careful. That's why I just wanted to make sure,
it was very press conference official response.
Yeah, we're just talking about all of the way Trump worded his stuff. Sometimes you gotta word things out.
Gotta word it carefully.
It's a lot of that stuff. It doesn't add up. It doesn't make any sense. It breaks my heart, and it hurts that we're to the point where our country does so much damage to itself and sends so much aid and all this other stuff to other countries, and it just shits on us. And I feel like that's one of the big reasons why the veterans are so frustrated right now. That's for sure.
And I feel like because of the age of information that we're in, and the way that we can communicate with each other. I mean, the fact that like you and I met, obviously Kat and I met as well on social media, and you're able to meet people all across the nation. Then you can start to share those different experiences. But I feel like with the way that we are today, that we're realizing that the government's really been fucking the American people and America over for
decades.
Well, probably close to a century.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously now we're coming close to probably finding out finally for like actual solid hard rock proof of who killed JFK, hopefully someday.
Yeah.
And then watch it turn out to be the CIA, in my opinion, or somebody within there. I do believe that, in my opinion, the CIA has been involved in a lot of stuff that does not help America or the American people.
Bro, look at the FDA.
Yeah, don't get me started on that one.
The FDA would be there to help us with our food and to help us, maintain a certain level of safety and security for our food, for our babies, for our families, for our soils, for all of that stuff. And when I lived in Sweden, you couldn't get so much of the junk that we have here.
Yeah.
You go into McDonald's over there, the chicken nuggets over there, guess what it tastes like?
Chicken.
Bro, it tastes like chicken. It's so good. Like the chicken nuggets in Sweden taste amazing.
And this is what's crazy. So I have siblings that live in Rome.
Yeah.
And they always make fun. They always make fun of Americans with all of our like food allergies and our gluten intolerance. And I can't have gluten. She's like, you would be shocked. People come here and they all of a sudden they can eat gluten again. They're eating bread, they're eating rolls, they're not getting sick to their stomach.
Yeah.
And when I had just saw a rheumatologist, and with short and simple with my medical conditions, it's very hard for me to stay hydrated naturally, no matter how much water I drink. And I had told the rheumatologist, I said, well, I'm drinking Gatorade. And he's like, you have to stop drinking that.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And he's like, did you know that America is one of the only countries that Gatorade is allowed in?
Gatorade.
Yeah. And I'm like, but that was the treatment for the COVID was to drink Gatorade. And he's like, it's horrible for you. Yeah. America does not have good food. And he's like, at this point,
well, mind you,
in order to be good in America, you have to go paleo, like as hardcore paleo as you can possibly go. And I've been introducing that. And I've been a little bit shocked at how much better I can eat when it's strictly paleo. I can eat a lot more and I'm good afterwards.
Yeah.
So Mike, we appreciate all your time and all your expertise that you've been able to provide. One of the things that we ask our guests when we close out is to send us off with something motivational, inspirational, something more uplifting, because obviously we're talking about some heavy topics. So something to send us out on a positive note.
Hey, I got one. Just remember, wherever you go, there you are.
I like that one.
Nice and simple.
Short, simple, to the point. I like it.
No, I really appreciate you guys letting me come and hang out with you guys and talk and, ask you questions and bring up some of the similar things that I've been seeing and watching and hearing as well. So I'm glad I'm not the only.
Y'all want to go follow Mike? It is graybeard_jujitsu on Instagram. I don't know. Are you on TikTok or anything?
I'm not on TikTok. No.
You should stay that way. Don't go. It's really bad. Don't. We were over there for way too long.
That's the only social media I know that he's on. If you want to tell anybody else, tell any other social media where we can find you so that we can.
I have a Facebook. I've been kind of like drawing all that stuff down because there's all kinds of fake dudes taking my pictures and making fake profiles. So I had to can all that stuff. So really the only thing that I have going on right now is my Graybeard Jiu-Jitsu on Instagram. I still have I do a podcast as well called Noble Warrior Podcast. I do some talking and sharing. I haven't been able to mess with that really, but I try to talk about my struggles and my growth, talk about my faith, and try to help out other veterans going through the same thing. That's still up. Noble Warrior Official on Instagram. And also Noble Warrior, wearenoblewarriors.com. You can find my stuff there. The podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or whatever. It's not big, it's not huge, but if you kind of get bored and you need something uplifting, you're struggling with something, there's some veterans. I got some cool tier 1 guys talking on there. Doctor, there's a few of them on there, so it's pretty cool. So go take a look, check it out, and if you got any questions, give me a holler.
Absolutely,
that's amazing. Please keep doing what you're doing.
And thank you for everything, Mike. Appreciate you, man.
Not a problem. I appreciate you guys. It's really nice meeting you. Thanks for all of your listeners for tuning in, and you guys stay blessed. Take care. Have a good night.
Brother.
You too.